Welcome back, everybody. This is another episode of Miles' Trial brought to you by the NFSE Speaks team. I'm your host today, Saturn, just for a little brief while, because Ida has been working really hard on this show, and I want to thank also the rest of the team for putting together such a good production and to give a coverage for Miles' trial. Miles' trial is currently happening in the Southern District Court of New York, because I've been reviewing some of the comments, and a lot of our viewers are interested to see where the Miles trial is taking place. And yes, it is taking place in SDNY, the Southern District Court of New York. And we also do upload all the transcripts for all the trials on our official website at nfseofficial.com, and we also do put out live updates on our X account at NFSE Speak, and also Getter at NFSE Speaks. So our Twitter account is only NFSE Speak without the S. So with that being said, I would like to invite Ayla on to the show.
Hi Saturn, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming on, Ayla. And I actually wanted to recap a little bit for our viewers who did not watch the show yesterday, because we are still currently on the 10th witness. It has been taking quite some time to get through the direct examination for the 10th witness. And today, from my knowledge, Miles' legal team has just begun cross-examining this witness, and this is going to be very interesting. And that is what one of our team is going to bring to the viewers for the show. But before that, I want to actually get a little bit into the witnesses from right before that, because I know it has been a very interesting turn of events, and it was very roller coaster.
Right. So starting from day one, the government had originally called on up till now 10 witnesses in total. And so yesterday, the defense team actually did the cross-examination for the 9th witness, whose name is Jenny Lee. She claimed to be a victim of certain investment projects that were mentioned in the indictment of Mr. MILESGUO. However, in her testimony, there were lots of frustrations and difficulties experienced by both parties, the government and defense team, and the judge actually stepped into the process in the cross-examination several times to point out the accuracy of the translation, the comprehension of the witness, to make sure that the witness actually would be able to understand how to answer questions in the court. However, much frustrations were received in the court. So yesterday, the defense and the government decided not to move on to the second round direct and the second round of cross-examination for the 9th witness. And it ended up being many of her testimony was actually striked by the judge. So it was pretty bad, for the government yesterday. And then the prosecution team did raise out the background for the 10th witness, whose name is Ya Li, also has a nickname as Mulan. The 10th witness, from our knowledge, who happens to be a former member of the whistleblowers movement. And so when she came to the court, she testified that the United States government had sponsored her for her travel from her home country, Australia, to the United States. She was traveling with her 11-year-old daughter, and she had in contact with FBI ever since she arrived into the United States. She had been in New York for 4 days. The government was concerned about the length of her travel, and wanted to kind of speed up a little bit about the questioning process, and to make sure that all of her questioning could be completed by Friday. And so when the 10th witness went onto the court, it obviously surprised some of the public spectators who happened probably to know her before. She came on, she kind of laid a foundation, being she held important positions in the past. She was a leader of volunteering farms, tea translators. She had held positions in several entities that were related to Mr. Guo's indictment as well. So it almost gave people a kind of a picture that she seemed to be one of the important leaders in the structure. But then she acknowledged that she had entered into a non-prosecution agreement with the government. And so she was the only one, among all of the 10 witnesses, she was the only one who actually entered that agreement with the government yet. And with all the past 9 witnesses that the government had brought in, many of them were, FBI agents. They do analysts for searches, for web pages, for videos. There are also, Lamborghini sales, who are testifying, confirming about purchase, who made the wire payment and who had in contact with the Lamborghini vehicle. Other kind of like witnesses were more of like former members, like victims, claimed to be victims of investment. And so that being said, the 10th witness, right, the government, from my, standard point, I think that the government would try to probably lay a bigger foundation to have her testify more of her involvement and her knowledge about the entities that were mentioned or, in Mr. Guo's indictment. And we were, came to, our information that her direct questioning, lasted very long yesterday and then went up to today as well, Saturn.
Yeah, and one thing I like to point out too is that some of those questions, from what I have heard, are a little bit redundant, redundant as well. And also like I also noticed another detail is the fact that they actually extended the trial period every day from, as opposed to 9:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. And then have it finish at 3 p.m. as opposed to 2:45. And this is just because they want to be able to properly fully examine some certain witnesses that's going to be present for this week. So that is a little bit interesting why the choice of questions were a little bit redundant from time to time.
Right, exactly. And then the government actually raised out questions to question the 10th witness about her contact with the FBI and with other department, the justice authorities or legal departments to kind of like understand her background. She did testify that she had reached out voluntarily to the FBI before because she wanted to report Miles. She think that she was misled by him. And so it was her, intentional choice to reach out to trustee of Mr. Guo's bankruptcy case as well. So it was very interesting to see that because usually, when a witness appeared on a criminal trial and entered an agreement with the government, it was, most of the time it was because of pressure from the government. They might have received, same charges, or they might have received, subpoenas that made them believe that they are in a very dangerous position. But for the 10th witness specifically, she was not, she is not an American citizen. She does not live in New York. She lives in Australia, but she chose, to voluntarily, intentionally reach out to FBI and to report on MILESGUO's case. So it is, a kind of like a detail very interesting to investigate into. Another part is I was noticed that she was the second one, among the 10th witness, she was the second one who actually brought in physical pieces into the court. She brought one of the sunglasses that Mr. Guo sent her as gift in the past. And so she brought in and presented to the court. She said that, there was time that Mr. Guo wear that sunglasses in the broadcast, and she reached out to Mr. Guo saying that I like your sunglasses, and Mr. Guo, in return, very generous, sent out the sunglasses from United States to Australia to her. And she, I was surprised that she brought in, she said that Mr. Guo gave me this gift, and I was not quite sure about why she would like to present that, physical item to the court, but it seemed to be, it seemed to me, it only adds on points for Miles just to show the generosity of how she how Miles treated supporters and how Miles, dealt with the relationship with all of these supporters.
Yeah, precisely. I think that's a very interesting thing to point out too, is because it doesn't really build anything upon to the testimony she was giving through the questioning she was being asked by the prosecution team. And it goes back to another thing too, is just what you said. Miles is really, really generous with giving away gifts, because a lot of the times, like you really do begin to see like for someone like Miles to really take on the CCP, you first and foremost have to be a very kind and generous person. So that is just another display of Miles's character. I know in the past with some of the other witnesses, they also have tried to paint Miles in a more negative light. But these are just one of the instances where somehow the government's witnesses are displaying Miles's true character, when he's being kind towards others.
And I also noticed, just based on the transcript yesterday, when the government asked the 10th witness about her understanding of New Federal State of China and then her understanding of Mr. Guo's political, vision, and she testified that at that time, Mao said that to bring democracy and freedom back in China, to build a new China, this was exactly the same thing, what the whistleblowers movement was made for. And then the government also questioned her, how did she happen to know Miles in the past? And she mentioned about the April 19th, the VOA cutoff incident. And so we've noticed that, through all of the witnesses that the government have brought in, they actually told the public, told the jurors lots of the incidents and events that was related to Mr. Guo's effort in taking down or the Chinese Communist Party or exposing the corruption of the Chinese Communist government. So April 19th, the VOA cutoff incident was one of, the most frequently mentioned event in the court yesterday as well.
Right, and the VOA cutoff is a very significant, I would say a very significant moment in Miles' journey in taking down the CCP, because it was one of the pretty much the first time Miles came out on national television to whistleblow against a Chinese Communist Party leader, a Chinese Communist Party leader at the time, and which is why that has such a significant role in really painting the picture of who Miles Guo is, because I feel like in a trial like this, where he is facing these counts of charges, it's very crucial to really understand who Miles Guo is and what Miles Guo has done on this path to take down the CCP, for people to really realize, this is the man that is standing in court today.
Yeah, exactly. And then one important document that we must mention all the time was about the DX001, because that was one of the stipulation statements that both parties agreed, and prosecution team have their signatures on it as well. Our defense team signed on it as well. And in that stipulation statements, it clearly says that Mr. Guo was #1 enemy of the Chinese Communist Party. And in CCP's Foxhunt operation, Mr. Guo was listed as the #1 target, of CCP's overseas, targeting mission and a movement. There was also a case, the 9/12 project that was, filed by New York Eastern District against a group of, CCP's policemen in China. They, launch, cyber attacks, social media misinformation campaign to target after all of the dissidents, and Mr. Guo was listed in that indictment as victim 1. And so lots of these, stipulation statements actually prove, much of the intelligence that was exposed by Mr. Guo in the past. Mr. Guo was the first one, raised out the concept of Foxhunt operation. It was not just, it was not CCP utilize its own intelligence platform. It was more of they use Foxhunt operation to target their political dissidents, their political enemies overseas, and as well as, very successful businessmen overseas as well. And so with that being said, right, CCP's elements and the effort of taking down the Chinese Communist Party by Miles were also one of the major parts in the court as well. So I've also, noticed that just based on the prosecution team, what they were trying to establish the foundation was always about to have the witness pinpoint at Miles, saying that you made me do the investments and now I feel, it's a scam. However, the previous witnesses who claim to be victims also testify that they have received a refund either through SEC or through, through their point of contact, that whatever investment that they made, they request a refund and they actually received a refund. So it was interesting to me saying to see, there are specific words of choice for these witnesses called upon the government. For example, scam, for example, mislead, and yesterday with the 10th witness, there seems to be a pattern of how she testified. She always said that, I did not read the investment agreement because I trust Miles. So she was trying to say, she was trying to waive her own obligation in any of these financial dealings or investment actions, by saying that because she trusted Miles, that Miles should be the 100% responsibility for that, and she is not, despite she has her signature on it. And so lots of these elements, I'm pretty sure when our supporters came back from the court, we will be able to get to know more details.
Right, precisely, and that is what we're excited for today. Just because of information and the way that they were expressed in court, it was definitely something that was very interesting. And I haven't been to the trial myself, and this is why I feel like we really need our members who did attend the trial, because you gotta really see the emotions that they were trying to display, really the way they try to deliver and deliver their answers to some of the questionings. And I think even today when Miles' legal team is cross-examining the witness, I think that is where there will be even more interesting information that would be brought up, especially because today I because like you said, it has like this member is a leader of the three translators who have been involved in who are a little bit more involved than some of the other witnesses who used to be former members of the NFSC. So through that, this is a lot more information that needs to be cross-examined by Miles' legal team, and especially the fact that like you also brought up the fact that this witness has also on many occasions met with the prosecution team, also willingly had an agreement with non-prosecution agreement with them as well. So I think this is going to be very interesting to see what questions would Miles' legal team ask to cross-examine this witness.
Right, exactly. Just based on my understanding, it is very rare, for someone who is overseas, not actually based in the United States, to enter a non-prosecution agreement, in a criminal trial of someone else's case. So I would say, this seems to be planned very well in a past, and with all of her travel, and she was traveling with her 11-year-old daughter, and all of her travel and expenses here in the in this country were taken care of by the prosecution team. So all of these details, it seems to give us more pictures of what foundations that the government was trying to build. I was also curious about the jurors' reaction, because obviously when the ninth witness came to testify, because of the inconsistency, because of the lack of understanding of the questions, the jurors did not show very positive body language for the ninth witness. Everybody seems to get very frustrated with kind of like the inconsistency of the testimony and the way that the witness tried to circle around the questions that she were being asked. And there were times, the ninth witness, almost tried to say if I can ask questions to the judge, or if the witness was able to, question the defense team. That was, against the regulations of the court, or against the process of the trial. So I was curious, because the 10th witness, the government tried to build a very, a high foundation for her, meaning that pointing out she was a management position, she had kind of like deep experience of understanding Mr. Guo and then the movement, and she also could, was able to testify in English, so there was no language barrier. But just through cross-examination, I can't wait to hear more details, because I would assume, the logic that the defense team picked today must be very pinpoint, and then must be very sharp and challenging for that witness to answer as well.
Precisely, and I believe also Sabrina is the one that is cross-examining the witness. So for those of you who have followed the show, Sabrina is wonderful. She's great at what she does, and we can't wait to see what our members have to share today. Without further ado, let's bring on our members who actually attended the trial today.
Absolutely. Folks, we're very happy to have Feather and Jackson back in the studio. It was pouring rain in Manhattan, so they have been trying very hard to catch up on the train, get back to the studio so that they can share all of the details with us. However, there was some magic in the weather. The moment that we started the show, the rain stopped, and then we've seen sunshine coming in. So it was wonderful to have them back, and let's welcome Feather and Jackson to the studio.
Hi,
everybody.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Feather, and so happy to be back on the show.
Right. Right. Let's get
Jackson.
Well, let's just jump right into the show.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Sure. So, I was noticed that, our defense team started cross-examination with the 10th witness, Yali, also known as Mulan. Brief us a little bit what was happening in the morning. Obviously, the court started earlier.
Right.
Usually it starts, 9:30, and the judge decided to extend, the trial day, the trial time a little bit. So, brief us, how was Miles today, and then what happened in the morning before the lunch break.
So you went in a little bit before I did, so you can start.
So, Mr. MILESGUO is always on time. Sharp today, light gray suit, sharp, clean white shirt, a dark black tie, and Mr. MILESGUO, what can I say? He always has this swagger walking into the room, and he brings this energy where it just. So Mr. MILESGUO was definitely, always the very first highlight of the day.
So I went a bit late. So when I sat down with our other fellow feather, second generation fellow feather, Max, and I saw him look back and he nodded at me. I was feeling so honored and happy that he saw me and he remembers me. Yeah.
So nice.
Yeah. So do you want to start with the questioning?
So in the morning, did the government still continue to do a little bit of direct examination with Mulan?
Yes. Yes. So yes, a lot of the examination or the questioning, it's on the the investment or the projects that she's taken part of. For example, the medical supply, HDO Hcoin, and also about her personal investment with Hcoin, and also as a leader, and she was asked to gather money for the members of the farm to invest in the Hcoin as well. You can see the contract of the quota confirmation of Hcoin. This is one of the evidence. And just gonna go a little bit over everything. And you have the digital bank that was mentioned as well. G Club, Crane Company, the Holly City, Hong Kong technology, and also about some of the refund process, and also the FMV documents, which stands for
Freedom Media Venture.
Yes, Freedom Media Venture, as well as Getter and Investors Money, HAA, her company, and a lot of bank records, and as well as about protest. So a lot of information.
So it was more of money focused about her knowledge and her involvement in all these entities. What are the evidences that Mulan brought in to the court today? Related to the entities that you just named, were there, agreements between the wire, or were there corporate documents? Were there, email communications? What type of evidences that were present, that were shown to the court today?
Well, actually, before we get in there, I want to point out something interesting that happened. This actually happened before 9 a.m. before we started with the direct. Is that the prosecutors actually told the judge that because they had a document or a video clip that they were going to play, but then there's a part of the translation that was not done, and then they were asking to see if they can still use that as evidence, the exhibit, to submit it as an evidence. So we went back and forth a little bit, and then that's where the prosecutor said, hey, we're expecting a new witness tomorrow. Right? Which is very interesting because then Sabrina asked,
Wait, hold on. Did the prosecutor mention about any of the background information about the next witness?
Yes, yesterday I believe it was mentioned that this specific witness is coming from Texas.
So the next witness, which
Yes.
will be which will came to testify tomorrow,
Hopefully.
is a witness who is from Texas.
Yes.
With no other further information.
Well, I mean, it could change because they're known to move things around.
Yes.
So we'll find out tomorrow. But it's very interesting is because Sabrina told the judge to say, well, if they have time, to get the next witness ready, because they haven't even finished the direct. Yesterday they were saying, hey, we have not gotten through 1/3 of all the questions yesterday. So that means today they were going to eat up possibly another day, which is very interesting. But anyways, so I want to point that out.
Yes. So speaking of evidences, there are a lot of documents, contracts. There's a breach contract, and yes, the contract I mentioned about the contract with quota confirmation. That is, basically that shows how much each coins that she purchased, and it consists of 3 parts. So it's part of it is her investment, another part of it's her volunteer work, another part of it's a donation because of her
So she was trying to say that her purchase of each coin was linked with investments and was linked with volunteer work in the movement, was also linked to donation. So it seems to me, they're trying to establish the logic of, how she actually, was receiving the quota. The other detail that I would like to point out is yesterday, we've kind of like we were aware that the government has 16 witnesses in total, and Mulan is the 10th, which they will brought in, the 11th, Friday.
Yes.
And so it seems to us, for the entirety of the next week, the government would probably complete its questioning of all of the government witnesses. So the number is very interesting, right? They have 16 witnesses in total. However, in all of the names that they mentioned, that about potential witnesses or names that might be mentioned on the trial, it was more than 70. So that kind of like narrowed down us a little bit to understand where we are in terms of the entire length of MILESGUO's trial. The judge did give an estimation of 7 weeks since May 22nd, but no one would be able to actually tell how long it will last. Go back to you, Feather.
Right. A lot of investment, also the A15 investment, like the video that MILESGUO was talking about, tested, and then basically what they are they gone through a bunch of information about what A10 investment is, or what A15 is, and about the G Club cards price and the new J Club in New York. Basically, that was all to testify and what the project and the investments are.
So it was actually using Mr. Guo's video, and Mulan testified based on her understanding of Mr. Guo's video to tell the judge and to tell the jurors of her understanding of these investments, right?
Yes, that's right. That's correct. Yes, and also, when we ask about the H coins, about how much she purchased and how much in total the H coin she had at the time, and how much it was worth when
after it went online.
After it went online, after went to the highest, which is $55 per point, and she estimated she had approximately $3 million at the time. And I just
did she mention if she redeemed all of the $3 million?
She did not mention, but then afterwards, after later on in the direct examination, she mentioned that she didn't earn anything and she didn't become rich, and then she become poor and more disappointed about the whole investment and about the whole movement as well.
Okay.
I want to go into details about what she said because there's so much happened at the end of the direct, and
the cross is going to be super exciting.
You want to add something?
Did we start cross today?
Yes, we did.
Okay, perfect. Okay, now let's Please, Jackson.
Do you want to add something for the direct? Because
the direct. Let me take a look. Actually, I mean, when it comes to the direct, so we did go over all the numbers. Something interesting, because she was one of the person that was put in charge to lead the G Translators, right? The G Translators farm, and then she did mention that in 2021 that somebody from her team or from G Translators wanted a refund, for example, with one of the G clubs that was $10,000.
Right.
What's interesting is that I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth, but in terms of the picture that they were trying to paint, is that she was the one refunding the money to that individual instead of Ms.
She said because she testified that Mao said she testified that Miles said, don't refund anyone potentially be a traitor.
Or
But
CCP spy.
or CCP spy, but she said I did not listen to it and I refunded the person who wants to get a refund.
Did she present any of the communication evidence that she mentioned? Because she obviously testified that Mr. Guo told me something. Did she bring out any, communications in the court?
Well, what's interesting is they didn't use the word refund. The initial word, and everybody can go to the transcript to confirm this, is that she actually used the word she took over that person's membership that wanted a refund. So there are benefits to G Club, as we know, right? So she took over, and then with the whole money transaction and everything, but then and then they start spinning and using the word refund to paint the picture that she was the one that refunded the money and not.
So it was more of like someone bought a G Club membership, and the owner of the G Club membership decided to refund or to stop the investment or stop the payment to G Clubs. So Mulan made a choice of taking over the other person's G Club membership by giving out the money to the other person and having the ownership transferred to her own. And so it was technically a transfer, right? Because you bought a second-hand membership from someone else, and they were trying to paint that it was a refund.
Yes,
right.
for sure. And after the lunch break, we gone through how Mulan left the movement and doesn't follow anymore to this day, and ever since the day that Miles was arrested.
So she said that ever since Miles got arrested, she decided not to follow the movement.
Well, at the time when he got arrested, he still believed in Miles. But then in 2022, they were mentioned about this phone call, about phones. So Miles told Mulan in 2022 about their phones and telling her to delete all the infos on the phone and change the number. And it did not explain why. No one was asked why. And then before the date that Miles got arrested, so David, Chang Dao brother, said FBI would arrest, so delete everything. That's when she had concerns about being arrested, so she told what they asked them to do. And she believed that the DOJ and FBI were infiltrated by the CCP, so she deleted all the information on her phone and changed the number as well. And then when she was asked about the Mawa mention, she was asked to translate a document by Miles that's basically stating, this first time heard about this mentions from the government's document, but then she translated before, saying that Miles wanted this mention to be an investment for the family, for the family members come and live, and then also for the club members of G Club members to come to the mention. And then it was said in a document that she translated it was paid with family fund. But then she was asked a question such as, if you knew this money was not from a family fund, was just for her family, and it's paid by the investors' money, would you still support this movement, with this move of buying the mansion? And she's like, no, but there's not a direct evidence saying the house isn't bought with family fund of Miles. And
did she present the document that Miles asked her to translate?
Yes, a translation.
She only present the translation version, not the original document.
No,
not the original.
Not original. And then in the document was mentioned all the renovations. It's been purchased by the family fund only. And she's like, she's telling a lot of times throughout this whole trial. Her testimony saying that investment money it's supposed to be used to take down the CCP. It's not a personal use for luxury life. And herself, she identifies herself as a leader of a farm and also that collects the investor money, and she also helps people to invest. She's like, I never used any investor's money, and he shouldn't use an investor's money. That's the claim that she used. Then she already claims that Miles used investors' money when she was testifying, saying, you shouldn't be using investors' money. And and a lot of things happened afterwards. And then she was asked after she kind of left. I think it was in July 2023. So she was asked to sign this document that she doesn't really know what it's about. She doesn't know what it's about. And then she said that the Himalaya Alliance threatened her to sign this document. Otherwise, she have to pay $38 million. And then threatened her that you're fully responsible. And then she said, quote unquote, if you want me to pay, you have to take my life. I can't pay. I don't have $38 million. They can kill me. And he said, I have no other solutions, quote unquote. And repeatedly, this is a scam. And so she contacted U.S. government starting from July 2023. Yes. And then, and she was asked about how she felt. And she used a series of words to describe her feelings at the time. Angry, desperate, guilty, regret, depressed, and thought about suicide. And then he
trying to paint herself as a victim.
Right. So just to simplify things a little bit, right? So she was trying to say she had lots of knowledges over different investment projects by giving out description or even testify based on what the public video of Miles made in the past. And then she presented certain evidences, including translation documents, and giving out, kind of like dates when she actually decided not to believe, when she started to contact Department of Justice, FBI, to report, Miles or report anything related to this case. And the specific time that she gave was starting from July 2023, and it was about a document that that she was asked to sign, based on her testimony. And then she expressed lots of emotions. I was very surprised that she said that they want to kill me. And so did she mention about whom that the day that she was referring to, Jackson?
Well, what's interesting is there's a pattern because a lot of documents, they brought up a lot of documents like confidentiality agreements and whatnots. And the pattern that I picked up on is that she always signed documents, the farm loan programs, whatever it may be. She always said that she signed all these documents because she was asked to do so, right? But if you really, common sense tells you it's negligence on her part,
because she gave out the signature.
Correct. Like if we're getting married, nobody's forcing anybody to sign anything. You got to make your own decisions, right? And she is. Once we get into the cross, that's the exciting part, because then submitters are asking her, well, you studied a master's in accounting, correct? Okay. In terms of your work, you do tax filing for not only individual but institutions, correct? Okay. So when it comes to her work and her past history of education and everything, so it just really goes to show you where she's trying to really pinpoint point everything to.
And then it just keeps getting compared by what she does as a farm leader or some sort of leader, and then compared to Miles, because she keeps saying that Miles was targeted by CCP and so was I targeted by CCP, and then targeted by CCP doesn't mean I should spend investors' money. So she's speaking for Miles for spending investors' money at that point. It's like a
so the allegations was kind of like embedded in her testimony already.
Yes, and she believes that, and then she was at the end of the redirect. I found something super interesting. At the end of redirect, she was asked if she still believes that should bring democracy in China. She said yes, and then does she still trust Miles to this day? She said no. And why not? And why would you not participate to any other movement again? She said because the whole movement is a scam. They cheated us. They lied to us. We got cheated on. We don't know how we.
So it was fun, right? Because she did not identify whom the day that she was referring to. She also did not identify us. That she was trying to say. That it cheated on a group of people, right? Us, and that I represent a group of people. However, she could only testify on behalf of herself.
For sure.
So, Yeah.
And as a result, just to add something like at the end of the redirect, and just as a result, and she was asked, oh, what's the result? How do you feel right now? And it's like, she said, supporters, she's speaking for others again. Supporters are getting poor, more disappointed. And then, of course, it's got objected because she can't speak on behalf of others.
Right.
She's like, I'm feeling poor and I'm feeling disappointed and won't be a part of any democracy movement again because it will be another scam.
Wow.
And Miles laughed.
Wow.
Right. So, it was always interesting to pay attention to those details. So, Feder, Jackson, thank you so much for joining us today. I knew that you guys have been trying very hard and not even staying until the end of the trial and then coming back just to share the timely updates with us. So, I appreciate you guys. I'm pretty sure our families, our friends, and our supporters appreciate you guys as well. Please, dry the pens a little bit because I knew Feder's pens are still wet. And get some hot tea, and thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Ella.
Wow.
Yeah, so folks, folks, welcome back. Thanks so much for your support to our program Miles Trial. We're now live back at the studio. We have two fashion models with us today. Let's welcome Ava and Max.
Hello, everyone. Hi. Hi.
Look their beautiful faces and beautiful clothes
yes.
as well.
Italian lamb.
Right. So I knew that YouTube both stayed till the very end of the trial today, and the trial today ends around 3 p.m. So it was longer than usual. So brief us a little bit. Jackson and Feder gave us a little bit of information of the direct examining for Yali for Mulan this morning. What happened afterwards? The story that we heard was, she was testifying. She said that she will not try. At this moment, she does not trust Miles. She will not participate into any other democracy movement because she thinks all of these movements are scam. And Miles laughed, after hearing her responses. So what happened afterwards? Brief us.
Ava, do you want to start us off?
You go ahead.
All right, so, at the end, we did get into the cross-examination, and I just wanted to reiterate that there were certain objectives when we were doing the direct. So there were certain elements that were repeated that I caught on to, and one of them was, I trusted Miles, I trusted Miles, I trusted Miles. That's why I didn't read X and X. So it paints a picture of negligence. And then the other one would be, if you had known investors' money were being spent on this, would you still be doing X and X? So it paints implication already that Miles had spent investor money on X and X. And there was a lot of emotional appeal to the jurors as well, because she ended up bursting into tears at certain times,
In cross or in direct?
No, during direct.
Wow.
During direct. So she did cry a couple of times, as well as the fact that she brought up a lot of elements such as she had to think about her daughter. She was thinking about self-harm when everything felt so desperate. So a lot of emotional elements. So when we approached the cross, I think the first thing that the defense lawyer did was to kind of build a foundation that paints a different picture. That one that isn't negligence. So as Jackson already stated, they first asked her about her educational background, how she received a bachelor's in China, how she received a master's in accounting in Australia, and how she was doing all these legal document translations as well as accounting for these industry firms that more or less require a sense of meticulousness, right? So this kind of paints the picture that she's not exactly a negligent person. She wouldn't just brush through documents if she hadn't been reading all these out. But yeah.
So yeah, I have to say this is day 10.
Right.
Witness number 11.
Number 10.
Oh, no, sorry, day 11, witness number 10. I switched the number. So witness number 10 and day 11. We already know the prosecutor probably have altogether 16 witnesses so far. They can change still the plan last minute, but we know this is already close to the end of the show. And this witness, number 10, is a star witness by far. You know, especially when she came after witness 9, which everybody probably,
frustrated.
were really frustrated and can't wait, to get it over. Okay, so prosecutor team had a lot of hope on her to build the case against MILESGUO. There's a lot of details, which please watch, everyday daily update, and also on the Saturday on the Ava. Sorry, I have to advertise that
for Ava's
yes,
show.
for Whistleblower on with Ava Chen. I would talk more details, but today I give you 3 points that I think it does not reconcile, and I am yet to look forward to our cross-examination to bring more possible issues that needs to be addressed that could put a doubt beyond reasonable in the jury's mind. So today I'm going to give you 3. So this lady, why I say she is a star witness, because she was entrusted not only by MILESGUO but by millions of followers. She was the director, was basically appointed as a director of Rule of Law Foundation, and she was a member of the Iron Blood group member, and she also was the farm leader for G Translator. So she was entrusted with a lot of responsibility of taking down the CCP. But through this direct questioning, a very prominent information came out is all those investment she has personally helped facilitating and coordinating for her farm and for helping other farms. So the prosecutor team focused only on the investment, on the dollar, on the entities that related to those investments. They actually gone through a lot of bank statements in terms of where the money, why for what's this for. So she testified, this is the money from my bank account to the entity I control to so and so, right? So they gone through all of this. However, one thing that they omit throughout the whole direct questioning is pretty much the knowledge that they discussed as the roles that she had in the movement about taking down the CCP. Because we're not here just to invest. We're not investors. We don't give our first identity as investor. We gave our first identity as what? Fellow fighters who is against the CCP. But they didn't talk about any of those things, okay? Because in her role, I would imagine, because I wasn't any of those things, I wasn't privileged to a lot of discussion and communications at that level in terms of the Himalaya Alliance, right? In terms of the global movement of taking down the CCP. But she probably was, okay? She probably was presented in a lot of those meetings discussing how we actually fight against the CCP, and she didn't. She was completely silent. What she gave is a list of failed projects. She mentioned, okay, GTV wasn't successful because SEC closed, the government closed down. Then we have a new GTV, we have a new project. MILESGUO started. Everything was MILESGUO started. Okay, we had an AI, another project failed. We have a new GTV club failed. But she doesn't talk about why those failed. It wasn't failed. I think in the cross-examination, the truth will come out. Why these projects are actually have to be aborted is because every step of the way, the CCP have targeting us and attacking us, from within and from outside, and with American, from people that they infiltrated in the system. So throughout the cross, we will be able to see some of those. So this does not reconcile. They selectively omitting all those important information that to do our mission, but only focusing on the money side. This is one. The second one is what you said. There's a lot of I think it's not just a negligence on part of her, because she was entrusted a very important roles. She should read documents and informed about what was she signed for, because on her shoulder it is the movement of followers, okay? But she said she was educated as a master of accounting in an accredited university in Australia, and she also got her certified professional accountant. And ongoingly, in order to maintain her license, she has gone through rules and records, and every year probably PD hours, I would imagine. And she probably advised clients, whether entity or individual doing complex tax reports, she would have to go through all those documents. And plus, she said, she is so important to this movement because the G translator, she supervised hundreds of people doing translating. Why ask she thinks she was important? Because she said, MILESGUO told me we're important because we're translating legal documents. You probably know how technical and how accurate, how diligent you need to be when you're translating legal documents, right? So what she was demonstrated through the direct questioning by answering, I didn't read all of the documents. I just signed because I feel pressure, because Alliance asked me to sign, because MILESGUO asked me to sign. I didn't read anything because I blindly trust MILESGUO. That answer does not reconcile with what she professionally repeatedly done in her life. So that's the second point. The last point is why she left the movement. It does not convince me. She mentioned, well, the project failed, but she has been in this movement since day one. If what she said was true, she put her heart and soul into this. She neglected her whole family for 7 and 8 years because she understands that the CCP is a threat of humanity. And I didn't know the reason why she actually quit. I don't understand. Other than March 15th, 2023, one thing happened. Yvette Wang, the hero, and MILESGUO, the other hero, was arrested. And then she was talking about some affidavit was not entirely correct. It was a false affidavit. One of the members asked her to sign. But that's a long reason, should not denied all her 7 years efforts. So that's the third point that I'm not reconciled. What she said is completely true. So I look forward to tomorrow's cross.
Absolutely. And if I may just say one last thing. During the defense cross-examination, we did the lawyer did start pointing out some holes that may not be exactly lies, but definitely misleading or not telling the exact truth. And I'll give you an example. It's when she mentioned that she recalls meeting with the prosecutors for just 10 times, around 10 times. So then the defense lawyer went by list with the receipts.
Dates.
Do you remember meeting on this date? I don't remember. Do you remember the meeting on this date? I don't remember. And she said that 28 times. I don't remember. To all the dates, as well as the fact that she was very, very vague on the fact that she actually met with them after signing contracts as well as right before the trial. So if I have to say one thing, Isla, it's that tomorrow's cross-examination continuation is going to be a very, very important one, and I look forward to it as well.
Right, absolutely. And, everybody was aware that Mulan, as what Ava said, happens to be, probably one of, the painting to be a star witnesses for the government.
Yeah.
And she was the only one up till now who entered a non-prosecution agreement with the government. That being said, much of the communication and preparation was done prior to her testimony in the court. So it was very surprising, to hear from Max that she took the oath. However, she selectively answered the questions and says that she doesn't recall the dates because much of the effort in that non-prosecution agreement is that you had lots of meetings, you had lots of communication with the government before. So folks, follow us on NFSC Speaks, and if you're curious about court documents, go to nfscofficial.com. We will update, very timely about public documents in the docket with MILESGUO's case. Also share with you guys about the transcripts of everyday trial. Please bear in mind, Miles has not pleaded guilty, and he will not plead guilty. He insisted that he is innocent from all of the charges that the United States government put against him. So we will see how Mr. Guo's defense team lead tomorrow's cross-examination, and we will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much, folks. We will see you tomorrow.
See you.